Awareness is the first step, and it is the doorway to transformation. You see, every human being is driven by feelings, and those feelings are often hidden beneath the surface of our daily actions. When someone says, "I have a crush on my married boss," it can sound lighthearted, but the truth is, that statement carries a weight of emotions, unspoken desires, hidden conflict, and even guilt. The feeling itself is not the real problem. The real problem begins when you are unaware of what is happening inside you. The moment you become aware, you gain the power to separate yourself from the feeling. Until then, the feeling owns you, controls your thinking, and quietly influences your actions. When you develop awareness, you start noticing your thoughts as they come. Most people allow thoughts to run on autopilot. They believe whatever enters their mind is true, and whatever they feel must be acted upon. But when you stop, pause, you watch your thoughts, you realize something powerful. You are not your feelings, and you are not your thoughts. You are the one who observes them. When you say, "I feel attraction toward my boss," that is simply a passing state, not a permanent identity. By being aware, you place distance between yourself and the feeling. Instead of drowning in it, you begin to study it, like an observer looking through a clear glass. Now, awareness is not judgment. Most people, when they realize they have a crush on someone they should not, immediately go into self-criticism. They start labeling themselves. "I am wrong. I am bad. I am weak." That is not awareness. That is judgment. Awareness is neutral. It is like holding up a mirror. The mirror does not tell you that you are ugly or beautiful. The mirror simply reflects what is there. In the same way, true awareness reflects your inner world, without condemning it. The moment you stop judging yourself for the feeling, you loosen the grip it has on you. What you resist persists. What you accept with clarity begins to dissolve. Let's go deeper. Where does this attraction come from? When you sit in awareness, you may notice that it is not really about the boss. It may be about a need for validation, a longing for attention, or even admiration for authority and confidence. The mind projects these unmet needs onto a person, and suddenly, they become the focus of your emotions. Without awareness, you believe it is about them. With awareness, you realize it is about you. This simple shift changes everything. The moment you see the root, you gain freedom. You realize that the boss is not holding your emotions hostage. Your own unconscious patterns are. And when you know that, you can begin to change. Awareness also gives you the ability to pause before action. Without awareness, emotion rushes you into choices that may lead to regret. Lingering too long at the office, seeking unnecessary conversations, or creating subtle situations where you can feed that emotional hunger. But with awareness, you notice the impulse rising, and you step back. You tell yourself, "I see what my mind is trying to do, but I do not need to follow it." This pause is not weakness. It is strength. It is the strength of one who has mastered their own inner world. Another gift of awareness is clarity. Most crushes thrive in fantasy. The mind magnifies the other person, painting them as more perfect, more attentive, more desirable than they really are. This fantasy is like a movie playing in your head, and the more you watch it, the deeper you fall. But when you practice awareness, you shine a light on the fantasy. You begin to notice the exaggerations. You see the gaps between imagination and reality. And with that clarity, the emotional charge weakens. What once felt like a burning fire becomes nothing more than smoke you can see through. Awareness also allows you to feel the pain without drowning in it. You might notice moments of loneliness, longing, or even jealousy. These emotions can be sharp. But if you sit with them in awareness, something surprising happens. They lose their power to control you. You realize they are temporary visitors, not permanent residents in your heart. They come, they stay for a moment, and then they go. You stop being afraid of them. You stop running from them. And in that stillness, you find peace. Without awareness, life becomes reactive. With awareness, life becomes intentional. Instead of being pulled around by hidden forces, you begin to choose. You begin to respond rather than react. And the beauty of this is that it does not only free you from the crush, it frees you from every destructive pattern in life. Every addiction, every negative habit, every painful attachment begins with a lack of awareness. By cultivating awareness here, in this specific challenge, you strengthen a skill that will serve you in every area of your life. Awareness is not a one-time event. It is a practice. Each time the thought arises, I like my boss, I can't stop thinking about them. You gently notice it. You don't fight it. You don't feed it. You simply observe it. And over time, like clouds drifting across the sky, these thoughts lose their heaviness. They pass, and you remain grounded. The more you practice this, the more power you gain over your own mind. You no longer become the prisoner of your feelings. You become the master. Shift from obsession to purpose. That is where the real transformation begins. Obsession is a powerful force. It grips the mind, loops the same thought again and again, and creates a cycle that feels almost impossible to break. When someone is caught in an emotional attachment, like having a crush on a married boss, the thoughts do not come once. They come repeatedly. They play like a broken record. What if they notice me? What if they feel the same way? What if there's a chance? And each time those thoughts play, they drain energy, they take attention, they take focus. The energy that could be building your future, creating your success, and strengthening yourself. Worth is being siphoned away by an illusion. The only way to break this cycle is not by fighting the obsession, but by replacing it with purpose. Purpose is the great redirection. It gives the mind something greater to chase, something meaningful to focus on, something far more satisfying than the temporary thrill of attraction. When you immerse yourself in purpose, the emotional intensity begins to shift. The brain cannot hold two dominating thoughts at once. If your mind is filled with purpose-driven goals, there is little room left for unhealthy obsession. Purpose doesn't just pull you out of negative emotions. It elevates you above them. Think about this. Obsession thrives in emptiness. When there is a gap in your life, when you are unfulfilled, uninspired, or uncertain, your mind looks for something to cling to. It often chooses people, fantasies, or circumstances to fill the void. That is why crushes feel so intense. They create a temporary illusion of meaning. But illusions fade. What remains is the emptiness that created the obsession in the first place. The real solution is to fill that emptiness with something real, something constructive, something powerful. That something is purpose. Now, purpose does not always arrive as a grand mission in the beginning. Many people wait for clarity, saying, "I don't know what my purpose is." But purpose is not discovered in one grand revelation. It is built step by step. It starts with asking yourself simple, but powerful questions. What do I truly want to create in my life? What kind of person do I want to become? What contribution do I want to make? Even if the answers are small, they begin to shift your focus away from the person you are obsessed with and onto the life you are meant to live. When you begin pouring energy into growth, learning a new skill, building your career, improving your health, deepening your spirituality, you notice something remarkable. The same energy that once fed the obsession now fuels your progress. The same imagination that once created fantasies about your boss now creates visions of your future. The same intensity that once pulled you toward unhealthy desire now pushes you toward self-mastery. It is the same energy, redirected with intention. And the more you redirect, the stronger your sense of purpose becomes. Another dimension of purpose is contribution. Obsession is self-centered. It is all about what I want, what I feel, what I need. Purpose is outward. It asks, what can I give? How can I serve? How can I impact others? The moment you shift your focus from taking to giving, the obsession weakens. Because the truth is, the human heart is designed to expand when it gives. If you dedicate yourself to uplifting others, your mind does not have the space or the hunger to remain trapped in unproductive longing. Service expands the soul, while obsession contracts it. There is also a profound shift in identity when you move from obsession to purpose. When caught in obsession, your identity shrinks. You begin to see yourself as the one who feels unworthy, the one who is not chosen, the one who is always longing. This identity is painful, and yet, because it is familiar, the mind clings to it. But when you embrace purpose, your identity expands. You begin to see yourself as the creator, the achiever, the one with vision. This new identity is far more attractive, not just to others, but to yourself. And once you respect yourself, you no longer crave attention from the wrong places. It is important to remember that shifting to purpose does not mean suppressing your feelings. It means channeling them. Attraction is energy. Desire is energy. Instead of letting that energy spiral into obsession, you can use it as fuel for your purpose. History is filled with examples of people who took personal struggles and turned them into creative breakthroughs. Powerful missions, and lasting achievements. The energy was the same. It was the direction that changed everything. Every moment you catch yourself drifting into thoughts of your boss, you have a choice. You can feed the thought, or you can redirect it into your purpose. Imagine if every moment of obsession became a moment of creation. Imagine if every ounce of emotional energy became fuel for your dream. Slowly but surely, the obsession loses its grip, and purpose takes root. Purpose grows deeper, stronger, and more satisfying than any fleeting crush could ever be. It gives you a reason to wake up in the morning, a reason to keep moving forward, a reason to rise above your impulses. Detach with dignity is the art of reclaiming your power while honoring your humanity. When you are emotionally entangled with someone who is unavailable. Like a married boss, it is easy to feel stuck between desire and guilt, between longing and restraint. The conflict drains your spirit because you are pulled in two directions at once. On one side is the emotional attachment that feels magnetic, and on the other side is the awareness of reality that tells you this path is not aligned with your integrity. The way forward is not to fight yourself, not to suppress your feelings until they explode, but to consciously detach in a way that preserves your self-worth and respects the boundaries of others. Detachment is not coldness. It is not indifference. It is a choice to release the grip of unhealthy emotions so you can live with clarity, balance, and dignity. The first element of detachment is understanding that attachment grows through attention. Every thought you entertain, every scenario you replay, every small interaction you magnify becomes a thread that binds you tighter. When you catch yourself rehearsing conversations in your mind or analyzing every word your boss says, recognize that this attention is feeding the attachment. Detachment begins with gently withdrawing that attention. It does not mean you suppress the thought with force. It means you notice it, acknowledge it, and then choose not to dwell on it. You redirect your focus, like taking your hand off a rope that has been burning your skin. Each time you release, the grip of the attachment weakens, and slowly you begin to breathe again. Detaching with dignity also means respecting boundaries, both theirs and yours. Your boss has commitments, a family, and a life that does not belong to you. To cross those boundaries would not only harm others, but also harm your own sense of self-respect. When you respect their boundaries, you are also respecting your own higher values. You are reminding yourself that your integrity is worth more than a fleeting desire. There is immense dignity in choosing what aligns with your principles, rather than what satisfies your impulses. It is not about denying your self-love. It is about refusing to accept a distorted version of it that comes at the cost of your inner peace. An important practice in detachment is reframing the story you tell yourself. Obsession thrives on fantasy, and fantasy creates false meaning. You may tell yourself, "They understand me like no one else," or "Maybe this is destiny," or "If circumstances were different, we would be together." These stories keep you emotionally tied because they paint the attachment as something profound. But when you step back, you realize these are just mental constructions. You can tell a new story. This experience is teaching me about my own desires. Or, this is an opportunity to grow stronger in self-control. Or, the fact that I can feel deeply shows that I am alive. But I choose to direct this feeling toward the right path. When you change the story, you change the emotional weight it carries. Detachment also requires space, physical, mental, and emotional. If possible, minimize unnecessary contact that fuels your emotions. Do not linger in places or conversations that keep the flame burning. Protect your environment, because your environment shapes your mind. At the same time, create mental and emotional space by filling your life with meaningful activities, new connections, and fresh experiences. When your life is abundant with purpose and joy, the attachment fades into the background, losing its dominance. The mind cannot remain obsessed when it is engaged with richer, healthier pursuits. Another dimension of detachment is self-compassion. Often, people harshly judge themselves for being attracted to the wrong person. They say, "I shouldn't feel this way. I'm weak. I'm foolish." But this only deepens the attachment because shame locks the feeling in place. Detaching with dignity means acknowledging your humanity without condemning yourself. Attraction is natural. Longing is human. What matters is not that you felt it, but how you chose to rise above it. When you treat yourself with compassion, you create the inner safety to let go without fear. Detachment is also about shifting from dependence to independence. When you are attached, you unconsciously depend on the other person for emotional highs. The way they look at you, the way they speak, the way they acknowledge you. These small things become sources of dopamine, and soon you crave them like a drug. The path to dignity is breaking that dependency. You remind yourself that your worth does not come from someone else's attention, but from the way you value yourself. You create your own highs through achievement, creativity, connection with friends, spiritual practices, and self-love. As you do this, the emotional grip weakens, and you stand taller, freer, and more grounded in who you are. There is also power in silence. Detachment does not always need to be loud or dramatic. It does not require confrontation or declarations. It can be quiet, graceful, and inward. You do not need to announce that you are pulling back. You simply do it. You smile when appropriate. You remain professional, but internally, you have shifted. You no longer hang on their every word. You no longer let their presence dictate your mood. This silent strength is the essence of dignity. It is calm, it is composed, and it does not seek validation. As detachment deepens, you begin to feel a sense of liberation. The mental noise quiets down, the constant inner tug of war softens, and you reclaim space in your own mind. This is not emptiness, it is freedom. It is the freedom to think clearly, to act wisely, and to live authentically. Detachment with dignity allows you to stand in your own power without needing to cling to anyone else for completion. It is the choice to honor yourself, honor others, and rise above circumstances with grace. Transform pain into power is one of the greatest shifts you can ever make in your life. Because pain by itself is not the enemy. Pain is a messenger. It shows up to reveal something that must be acknowledged, something that must be healed, something that must be transformed. When you feel the sting of unfulfilled desire, the ache of longing, or the heaviness of being caught in emotions that you know are not aligned with your values, that pain is telling you there is growth waiting on the other side. Too often people try to numb pain, to escape it, to deny it. They drown it with distractions, bury it under business, or silence it with temporary pleasures. But pain that is ignored does not disappear, it waits. It lingers beneath the surface until it finds another way to make itself known. The real mastery comes when you look pain in the eye and ask, "What are you here to teach me?" A pain is energy, and energy can be redirected. What you feel right now, the intensity, the emotional pull, the sleepless thoughts, all of that is raw energy. If you keep it tied to a situation you cannot change, it eats away at you. But when you redirect it, when you take that very same energy and channel it into growth, creation, or contribution, it becomes fuel. That is how pain turns into power. The deeper the pain, the greater the potential for transformation, because strong feelings carry strong energy. You have the choice to decide whether that energy will destroy you or build you. There is something profoundly awakening about emotional pain. It breaks the illusion of control. It forces you to confront parts of yourself you may have ignored. When you find yourself attached to someone you cannot have, and you feel the ache of that, you are being shown areas of your life where fulfillment is missing. Perhaps the pain reveals that you have been seeking validation outside of yourself. Perhaps it shows that you crave admiration, respect, or attention that you have not given yourself. Perhaps it uncovers loneliness or a lack of purpose. Pain uncovers the cracks in your foundation, not to punish you but to guide you towards strengthening them. Without pain, you might never look deeply enough to make those changes. Transforming pain into power requires perspective. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" begin to ask, "How is this happening for me?" That small shift changes everything. The moment you believe that life is giving you lessons rather than burdens, you reclaim your power. You are no longer a victim of circumstance, but a student of growth. That crush that brought you so much inner conflict becomes a teacher. It teaches you about boundaries, about self-respect, about emotional discipline. It teaches you about the depths of your own heart, your capacity to feel, and your ability to rise above. This perspective does not erase the pain, but it transforms the meaning of the pain. And meaning is what turns suffering into strength. Another way to turn pain into power is through creative expression. Some of the greatest works of art, literature, music, and invention were born out of emotional pain. The energy that feels overwhelming inside you can be poured into something tangible. Write, paint, compose, build, speak, or create in any form that calls to you. When you transform pain into creation, you give it shape, you give it voice, and you release it from the prison of your mind. The process itself heals you, because what once felt like a burden now becomes a gift you can offer to the world. There is also immense power in resilience. Every time you feel the pain of unreturned affection, or the sting of unmet longing, and you choose not to let it control you, you are building inner strength. Resilience is built through repetition. Each time you rise above the impulse, each time you redirect the thought, each time you stand firm in your values, you are reinforcing the muscles of self-mastery. Over time, this resilience becomes unshakable. The pain that once weakened you now becomes the very training ground for your strength. You no longer fear emotions, because you know you can withstand them. You no longer collapse under pressure, because you have proven to yourself that you can rise. Pain can also awaken empathy. When you suffer emotionally, you begin to understand the suffering of others in a deeper way. This empathy expands your capacity to connect, to support, to uplift. Instead of closing your heart, pain can open it. Instead of making you bitter, it can make you compassionate. You begin to see that every human being carries their own struggles, their own hidden battles, their own longings that cannot always be fulfilled. This realization softens you, and in that softness lies power. The power to touch lives, to inspire, and to guide others through their pain, as you guide yourself through yours. Transforming pain into power also requires vision. Pain is often tied to the past or the present moment of longing, but power comes from directing your focus forward. Create a vision of who you want to become as a result of this experience. Imagine yourself stronger, more confident, more purposeful. See yourself free of emotional dependency, standing tall in your own worth. The more vividly you hold this vision, the more your pain becomes a stepping stone rather than a chain. Vision gives the pain context. It says, "This is not the end of me. This is the making of me." There is a sacredness to pain when it is transformed. It becomes a reminder of your resilience, a symbol of your growth, a marker of your evolution. What once felt like a wound becomes a source of wisdom. What once pulled you down becomes the very thing that elevated you. And the beauty of it all is that the power you gain never leaves you. It stays, it builds, it strengthens, becoming part of who you are. The pain may fade, but the power remains.